Neil Diamond has written some, well, tons of incredible songs, and some are very simple, kind of in their foundation and formation, maybe, but beautiful, great lyrics, great melodies, and this is of course Stones from the album Stones, and it features a really complicated three-chord progression using chords 1, 2, and 5 in the key in a very short little 8-measure arrangement with a short little interlude and stuff like that. And so on one hand, it's like, oh, that's how easy it is to write something so cool and so beautiful. Anyway, the devil's in the details. Now, what we're going to take a look at in this song is really just the chord progression, the 8-measure progression. It's a very simple arrangement of 3 verses with a short little interlude in between, and the interlude is kind of taken from, derived from the chord progression, but condensed a bit because the chord progression is quite stretched out. A lot of measures of, I guess when I say it's 8 measures, it's really 16, depending on how you want to think about it, but it's a set of, it's pairs of measures, and there are 8 pairs. Anyway, we'll break down the progression and everything, but you probably could even just figure out the chords from watching me play what I played there. We really just have, it's in the key of C. We use we use chord 1, C, chord 5, G. You could throw in a G7 if you want, and it's kind of optional, and D minor, chord 2. And we'll take a look at an easy way to play the interlude as well. Now, it does have a fairly unusual and distinctive fingerpicking pattern. But many times I encourage people, if you haven't done a lot of this, it's kind of it's a strange sequence of an arpeggio. With one note varying and it rotating groups of 4/8 and 3/8 and maybe even 2/8 depending on what we're going to do. So the first thing I'm going to recommend is if you haven't done much of this, if you haven't done anything more complicated than House of the Rising Sun, which is a straight 6-note arpeggio, should break into this with a pattern that happens in a lot of Jim Croce songs, what I would call a 3-3-2 pattern. And that would be play a C chord, and we're going to have 8 eighth notes in the measure, but they're going to have 3 bass notes. Your thumb's going to play on beat 1. Your index finger will play the 3rd string on the and of 1, and you'll play the top 2 strings together on beat 2, 1 and 2. Then you repeat that sequence with your thumb and your index and your middle fingers again. Could even hit the same bass note. There are 6 eighth notes in this measure. I need 2 more, so I would play the first 2 of that pattern. So this 3-3-2 pattern is thumb, index, ring and middle, thumb, index, ring and middle, thumb, index. Now you could alternate the bass note to the 4th string. And you need to feel that 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So I recommend getting that down first before tackling the more complex arpeggio pattern that happens in the song. But I do have a tab to this and a chart with the lyrics, and anyway, we'll break it all down over the next couple of segments. Probably a fairly short lesson because there's not a lot of different things going on in this, but that's what we're going to be looking at over the next few minutes is a breakdown of Stones by Neil Diamond.